So does America really have free speech in a country where billionaires are able to buy control of the media? Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Reiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So there's been lots of attention paid to Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time revisiting that whole debate. As you know, I always try to talk about things here that I feel like haven't really been talked about elsewhere to kind of keep it a little bit interesting and original. But I did feel like I needed to comment on one factor of this, and this kind of is follow-up to what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said when she tweeted in her own inimitable way that some billionaire with an ego problem unilaterally controls a massive communication platform and skews it. Elon Musk, just showing what a fundamentally sexist person he is, tweeted, "Stop hitting on me, I'm really shy," demeaning her quite correct criticism of a problem into the context of some type of sexual innuendo. AOC, to her credit, and once again demonstrating her mastery of communications, tweeted back, "I was talking about Zuckerberg, but okay." But AOC certainly has a point here. We're living in a world where literally billionaires are able to buy media and control them. Some of them have handled the media with quite a deft touch. I mean, look at how Jeff Bezos has created a firewall between himself and the Washington Post, really giving it editorial free rein. In fact, I'll post an article from the Washington Post, his newspaper, that criticizes him and the ability of his fellow billionaires to buy all this media. But that type of deft touch hasn't been the same for everybody. I think many of us are quite suspicious of the way that Mark Zuckerberg has handled Facebook. And of course, we have Peter Thiel, who basically destroyed Gawker, using his millions to finance Hulk Hogan's lawsuit against it. And even where we do see a firewall developed essentially between the billionaire and the media that they're controlling, this ownership interest is inevitably going to essentially create an environment that skews the perspective of the newspaper or of the media source, whatever kind it is. Making you wonder, will, for example, the perspectives of working people be covered? I mean, inevitably, the leadership of the organization that's going to be put in place by the billionaire owner is going to reflect their worldview to one extent or another. So even if they don't essentially put their thumb on the coverage, there's going to be still some influence on the perspective that this media source takes. And it really is humorous to watch these billionaire boys essentially competing against each other to see who can get the bigger media property. I mean, I'm reminded of the space race between Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, where the rocket that Bezos' company Blue Origin produced looks suspiciously like a very large penis, making you realize that this competition has more to do with boys trying to brag about their manhood in the playground than you would initially suspect. But the issue I really want to focus on for a second is essentially the fetishization of wealth that has become ingrained in our country. It's not by accident that the political powers have been able to shift our sorting from being around economic issues to being around social ones, because those issues are the issues that are much less threatening to the wealth of the very wealthy. And that's the perspective that I'm talking about that will be ingrained in these media sources, where there might be this reverence for wealth and the power that comes along with it, rather than a certain amount of skepticism over the damage that it does to our society as a whole. And we can see this perspective reflected in these media sources, as well as our legal system, by the way. We're all familiar about how the Supreme Court essentially has made it its policy that corporations are people and have all the rights of individual people like you and me. That's the basis, of course, for the Hobby Lobby decision and the Citizens United decision, both decisions that gave corporations far more power in the public sphere than probably the founding fathers would have liked to see. And in fact, American law explicitly has stated that money and speech are essentially the same thing under the law. Much as the law has determined that corporations are the same thing as people, in its 1976 decision Buckley v. Vallejo, the Supreme Court also held that money and speech are the same thing. And that's why the Supreme Court has severely curtailed Congress's ability to impose some type of spending limits and campaign finance restrictions on corporations and the very wealthy. Problems that have frankly polluted our system and generated a loss of faith in our system by people on both sides of the partisan divide. You see, I remember the days back when the internet was kind of a wild west, and the idea was that people were able to communicate directly with their audiences via social media without any kind of interference, and that you didn't need to be a billionaire anymore to be able to communicate with people. Well, unfortunately, as the internet era has advanced, it appears we've gone even further in that direction, where money truly is the deciding factor as to how loud your voice is. So I guess to the extent that I'm able to get this message out, I'm raising an alarm that we really need to be concerned about the distortions that money is creating both in our society and in our political system. Well, if you want to see another video about how Republicans have basically been giving away the store to the wealthy, check out this video over here. I'll see you then. And in the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.